No complaints.
That's good.
No major complaints.
Okay.
I remember where we stopped.
Yeah.
I don't know where we stopped last time. Because
I know we stopped around page here. It's reading. We stopped on page 7.
Page 7.
Going to page 8. There is some independence. Then neo-colonialism.
Okay, we had finished the graph, welfare state, and all that. Then we had finished collective imperialism, right? Or we are not
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
This is where he gave
Yeah, we are here.
examples of development in USSR, China, Cuba, North Vietnam, and in Egypt and Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Algeria, and other parts of Africa. They showed that not only was the world balance of forces shifting, but the capitalist imperialist states were confronted with the danger of encirclement. I think we reached there, right?
Yeah, we reached there. We are here on sham independence.
Sham independence. The need to militarize.
Yeah.
Where is that one? I can't see that too.
You reach page 7 at the bottom.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah, we'll cross it to page 8.
Yes. So I think let's start from there.
It's okay. This is. I wanted to ask a question.
Okay.
You have seen the other book by Che?
Che Guevara.
Yeah, on the similar topic also.
No. Which book is that? Is this the one Guerrilla Warfare?
Yeah, guerrilla warfare.
That Che book, I've not read it. That Che's book, I've not read it yet. I only read.
Okay, I'll send.
I read the biography, their biography. I think I read Castro's biography, and I read Che's biography. But I have not read that book which he wrote on guerrilla warfare. I think I need to read it.
Yeah, there is that book, Guerrilla Warfare. Che, there is the economics and Marxism of Che.
Okay.
Then there is the Che Commandant. Then there is he has around like.
You read
then
all
there is
these?
Motorcycle.
Have you read all these?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
the
I read
Marxism
them.
and economics of Che, is it the one who wrote it or someone wrote it about him?
Of course, those are compilations, but they are centered on his belief system.
Okay.
Okay, the economics does not look at directly at the economics of a nation before it looks at the economics of the revolution. Then after the establishment of the state, then allocation of resources, like that. But then like the commandant state looks at when he was a guerrilla, when he was a doctor, when he was the minister.
Okay.
Then the establishment of the focal, like that.
Okay.
Then there is that guerrilla warfare, he wrote it. Then there is another, and it is called Che Speaks to Young People. I think you have also seen that one.
No, I've not seen that one. I only read about his biography. I think the biography was written by someone from the United States. I don't know the person from the United States. I've forgotten the name. That's the only I read about him, and I read one on Castro. That is when I went really into inside to see the Cuban Revolution.
Anyway, there is Cuban Revolution, there is Cuban Underground, it is by some guy called Celestine. Okay. Then there is this woman who was next to Fidel, then there is a Fidel, then there is Hemingway.
Okay.
Many writers, but most of them are like biographies.
Okay.
Fidel only wrote he wrote a book about the revolution, about Che, a memoir about Che.
Okay. Fidel did not write
I think
a complete book about the revolution. Did he write any book?
which one, Fidel? Fidel has a book. It's titled Fidel. He wrote a book in remembrance of Che.
Okay, no, I mean just completely about the revolution. He did not write any book about the revolution. Complete book just
No.
about what happened during the revolution.
You see, Fidel was mostly, if Fidel was interested in capturing state power,
okay,
but he was, he wrote inside the Cuban Revolution, Fidel Castro and the Cuban Underground.
okay.
This one is by Julia A. Swig.
Okay.
Then there is okay. Che Guevara is the ideological engine of the Cuban Revolution.
Okay. Okay.
I have the economics. The economics of the revolution that was written by Che Guevara, Helen Yafe. I have that book. Then I have this is his book, Ernesto Che Guevara, Guerrilla Warfare and Method. And the tool, I have that one. I think, let me even send this one to you.
Okay.
Let me send it. You should view it. Let me see. Where is it? The other book which we are meaning it was written by, is it George Castaneda Companero, The Life of Che Guevara?
Okay.
Is it? I have that one. Let me first send this one. Che. So it's gone.
Small. The economic mismanagement is unbelievable.
You are still in the other book. In the other group.
Which one?
Of Kwame. This one, which the other book club.
Yes, I do attend it sometimes, but there was no concrete action, and I wanted to be where there's people doing something, not just reading. I didn't want to be in a situation where people are just reading books and there's no action to follow upon the reading. So that kind of book should be able to spur people to do something, to action. But they're contributing. They're contributing. Nkrumah said that thought without action is empty.
You have seen the book I've sent?
Yes, I've seen it. Nkrumah said that thought without action is empty, and action without thought is blind.
Is blind.
Yes. So you have to combine the two. But if you just be consuming thoughts without action, without taking action, then what you are doing is nothing, is completely useless. Because it's not pushing you towards acting on the situation, but rather you are just imagining and just talking about it. So you should be able to move and act on the knowledge which you have gained. So
that is the problem which you are facing. People have They just read only. Even sometimes the reading, you bring people who are not deeply in thought, who
Mm.
don't understand. I've seen, like, okay, me myself, I've seen some groups which I don't enter because the people are reactionaries.
Mm.
And you'll find that a group there is someone who wants like to who has tried, like I followed this man is called Pidge Bean. I
Pigeon.
think you know him.
Yeah, pigeon. I know.
Yeah, that he wanted to contest in the elections in Kenya.
Yes.
He had about uh-huh. Then after he went on, there is somewhere he was. I could not understand him.
No, he has not consumed he has this thing fire to this thing to do the job, but it's
Mhm.
the same thing that you need to eat the right kind of food, intellectual food. If you have not eaten the right type of intellectual food, uh, things can still be difficult. You will not have clarity of thought. Even though you want to change the condition of the people, you will still not have the correct ideology or the right. You are convinced, but you don't have the right solutions, and you are not clear in thought. And these kind of things, you have to
Because
clear in thought. So,
because sometimes you will see someone he reads Nkrumah, he does not understand Nkrumah. Like you remember when we first met,
mm,
I told you most of these roots of these books they are in two schools of thought. There is the Marxist and the capitalist. Even if it is written in Africa or by any person who has not read the two ideologies, you'll find himself that he is
mm,
taking a side amongst the two.
yeah,
So in those two, there is what they talk against and what they will do, what the other side will take.
mm,
But but these ones, of course, when you start talking about liberation, you talk Pan Africanism, what we already going towards the left side or
mm,
socialist. You already because it concerns liberation and what. But when you talk about markets, what liberalization, you're already in the capitalist world. Hmm?
mm, mm.
But if we are to liberalize, even the American economy itself is not fully liberalized, not so.
Oh, there's a speech I want you to read, self. You will see it. They have reversed it,
Mm.
especially this Biden administration. His national security advisor called Jack Sullivan, he came out and rubbished the excess liberalization, and he said that the American, and that is what actually they have gone to, that the American state has to take control of major sectors, and he's talking about investment in semiconductors. They passed they passed the Chips Act. That one, it was for
Mm.
the government to use its money and invest and give companies. And then they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, you know, to invest. The government will take money and invest into renewable energy companies. So they passed a couple of bills whereby the state has to pump money and invest. And he criticized that speech. I will send it to you. Or you can even check it on YouTube by Jake Sullivan's speech at Brookings Institute is free on YouTube, or you can even read it online. You will see that he was criticizing those excessive market, so-called market, what that market give everything to the market. So the United States itself, they are just hoodwinking these our Africans, uh, you know, and it's just it has become a colonial tool. This narrative is just a colonial tool, and it's just the naive and those ones who don't want to think, they just follow it. But when the
Mm.
people themselves who are telling you that you should follow this are doing it, it's a totally different thing, which is opposite to what they are telling you. They are using the state and they are telling you that you don't use the state. leave everything to the market. So
Mm.
some of our heads of state, they don't even listen to these things, and these people are existent. They are not dead. They are still they are in government. They have just come to government, but these guys are not questioning why the World Bank and IMF is telling them that they should liberalize when where liberalism comes from. They are moving in a different direction, opposite direction. They are not moving in the direction of liberalism, but rather they are, engaging the state full force.
Mm.
Yeah, so of course that is this is an unfortunate situation in itself.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's
That,
why.
that, how is your say tutor?
Mm.
Why are you people you are making celebration is there?
They're making what
Celebration is there.
of what?
Or say tutu.
That one is a king. It's just a
You
king.
know say tutu. Asante hene what?
Yes, that one is just a king.
You attended his thing. You're also from his tribe.
I beg your pardon?
You're also from his tribe.
No,
Mm.
I'm not.
For you what?
Oh, me, I'm completely from Uganda.
Completely.
Yes.
I thought you had relations there.
No, I'm completely from Uganda. Just I've been here for some time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. I thought you were also from there.
No.
I wanted to ask you a question on your position on what they call it
On the what?
monarchism. What on the
No, that
monarchists?
one.
The monarch.
I think the monarchy system is gone. It's gone a long time. That kind of life is gone. You can't. It's just for right now. It's just there just to show that the culture was preserved in that kind of way. They are just there to preserve the culture, but that kind of rule is over. Is outdated.
Mm.
It was oppressive.
It's complicated.
It was oppressive, and they didn't even
Mm.
know. They could not cope up. They could not cope with the modern times and technology advances in technology. So they could not cope. So
Mm.
the speed of change in the world, they could not cope with it. So it's the same thing I see that
Mm.
is going to happen to the neoliberalists. So new systems now are being formed, are being forged. They are still stuck in the old ways. Even this guy I've been
Mm.
speaking about, Jake Sullivan, I said the United States should reorient itself, but it should still want to stay in control of the world. And still, you can see that he still wants to stay. He's still talking about the United States staying in a position where it still has a dominant position where it exploits everyone's resources. So you can see that people are
Mm.
talking about forging new alliances and cooperating, and you see them even in Gaza. They think that they are still in that old world of coming and using force and bombing, bomb Yemen, bomb where and stuff like that. So these neoliberals, I think that also they will go like that, like the monarchs, because
Of course, it
they
is
are
what
out
a
of touch with the
misconception of
reality.
it.
So they are completely out of touch with the reality. They are not accepting that the world has changed and they have to change. That this is a multipolar world where people powers to be shared. They want to retain all the power. So no, they will be left in the dust, I believe. It will take time.
It's now decentralized.
It will take time, of course, but I think with time they will be left in the dust.
Mm. The
Mm.
time is now. It has come
Mm.
because now everyone can refuse, anyone can accept. Just depends. But did you see the other speech which I posted? I'll send you some speech by Putin. I think you saw it in the other group.
Yes, I saw a short video, right?
Yeah, which he said that he was talking to the Russian people. He was asking them that telling them that it is people who have sold their states to what? To the imperialists. Some have given them there and others have refused. And he asked the question, do we need them? People said no.
Yeah, I think he has resurrected Russia's power. I think Putin has resurrected Russia's power. And they just need to build. They don't have enough population. If they had enough population, they would have built back their economy. They have the
Mm.
technology, they have the resources. They don't need Africa's resources. I don't believe that Russia is in Africa for resources, just in here for strategic global, geopolitical reasons that it needs maybe votes at the UN, support at the UN and stuff like that. But I don't think they are in Africa
Mm.
for resources, the Russians. They have enough resources in their country. The country is
They
huge.
have enough. They want to balance of power.
Yeah, so just power for them, they are just in Africa to look for power and probably to help because historically they have been helping to overthrow the imperialists and their exploitation, their excessive exploitation. So I think that they
Mm.
have an opportunity to rise power, once they build a strong economy. If they build a strong economy and they increase their population,
Mm.
they have to increase the population. People have to give birth more. They will be unstoppable.
They are calling, they are calling on people to go there. I see they're giving free citizenship and what.
But I saw that Putin
And
say that if you want to go there and become a citizen, you have to adopt to their culture. You don't import your culture into their country because they don't want their culture to die.
which, which culture do they want?
Hmm?
What do they want exactly?
Putin.
Mm. In case you're from like other nations,
Yes, they say that you have to adopt it to Russian culture, language, and way of life so that you don't bring, because they are trying to preserve their culture. They don't want it contaminated and destroyed so that it will
and they
disappear.
also need the population.
Hmm?
They have little population. They have less population.
Yes, of course. That's what I was talking about. That if they
Mm.
increase their population, the population issue has been a concern even for Putin himself, even before the war. I saw him one time in
Mm.
a conference, and he was saying that he's encouraging. He was encouraging. They were giving incentives to the new couples, young couples, to encourage them to have children, and they will get incentives.
And they have a lot of land.
The
If it
country
would
is
be,
huge. The country is huge. It's extremely huge. And the population is
mm,
very small. I think is it about 90 million? I don't know whether it's 90 million or something. The country is huge.
very small.
Majority of it is empty.
Maybe I'll go and settle there.
Yeah, it's good to stay in a country where there's freedom. There's no imperialist oppression and humiliation. Like these countries ours. It's disgusting to live
Mm.
in these countries where we are, whereby the
You know,
imperialists they come and humiliate the country. Like Ghana is very disgusting to live in this country. Like you feel that
but
there's
you
no
know,
freedom. There's no freedom. The imperialists are over here. They do whatever they want.
mm, Camilo told Iche,
Mm,
he told him that here nobody gives up. Here nobody surrenders. I think I heard that quote. Here
mm,
nobody surrenders. So even if you do what, you have to remain here.
mm.
We read.
Yes,
Uh-huh. It is page 7 at the end. Sham Independence, right?
yes, Sham independence.
Yes.
Russia's
I'm starting
population.
to read.
Russia's population is 140, I think 144, 146 million people, and is actually reducing. It was 146 in 2023, and in
Mm.
2024 They are saying it has reduced it to 144 million. So the people are not giving birth. Instead, they are avoiding giving, but they are saying that economic hardship.
But sometimes those that population things those population indexes are sometimes wrong
No, but
because like the way you see
if
the
the president
projections.
himself comes out and telling you and is concerned, you have to know that Putin himself comes out and is concerned, you have to know that it is true. There's a problem.
Like, okay, what I was saying is that those figures may not be exact because like the way they project the people who are dying in the war, they project that 100,000 now soldiers are over now and yet the way it is continuing. You ask yourself now who? Hmm?
Yeah.
They are not civilians, not so. But
And
during the first week, they are over.
but you know
When
in
you
the
look at even the
war
uh,
they never tell the truth, because if you tell the truth you will be defeated. They will capitalize on that. So in the war they never tell the truth about the troops.
even when you look at North Korea, they say North Korea people are dying because of hunger.
That one
You're
is just
waiting for,
propaganda. That one you cannot. That is just imperialistic propaganda.
but I've never seen, I've never that South Korea is taking their food because people are dying.
That's how you know that it is propaganda. That's how you know that it's
If
propaganda. There's
if
no
it
such.
would be a humanitarian war situation, people would be taking their food.
Mm.
You didn't
Okay.
find Uganda taking. Mm.
Okay, let's read. Sham independence.
That is some independence. But as far as the imperialists are concerned, the real solution to the problem of continued exploitation through concessions and reform lies in the concept of sham independence. A state can be said to be a neo-colonialist or client state if it is independent de jure and dependent de facto. It is a state where political power lies in conservative forces of the former colony, and where economic power remains under control of international finance capital. In other words, the country continues to be economically exploited by the interests which are alien to the majority of the ex-colonized populations but are intrinsic to the world capitalist sector. Such a state is in the grip of neocolonialism. It has become a client state. Mhm.
Mm.
So this one is economically exploited by the interests which are alien to the majority of the ex-colonized population, but are intrinsic to the world capitalist sector. Such a state is in grip of neocolonialism and has become a client state. This one is like you are in charge, but you're not in charge.
Mm.
Uh, Exploitation is going on not according to the wishes of the people or to meet the needs of the people, but because you're commanded to do so by a higher power.
Mm.
A former, yeah, like the way we had said, that it is the imperialist entity led by the United States, not so
Mm.
in the earlier readings.
Yes.
So it is those countries which enforce, which exploit these countries in order to support their capitalist what economy.
Mm.
But it is not that the exploitation is within the interests of the people. Is it?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Mhm.
De facto, independent de facto in law, in theory. It is independent. That's the law. And then de facto,
In theory.
in reality, de facto, in reality, in practice, it is not independent. It is dependent in reality. So, and he says that the power in a state where political power lies in the conservative forces of the former colony, he's talking about the local bourgeoisie. The political power lies in the powers of the local bourgeoisie, and where the economic power remains under the control of international finance capital. Of course, this is self-explanatory. We see this. So we see that these local bourgeoisie are being dominated by the international finance capital, and they are always talking about investment, private sector. That those are the languages which they always use to justify the dominance of international finance capital and corporate.
Private sector.
Yes, they always use that language. Private sector. The private sector is the only means. The private sector.
In a system is to call it indirect rule.
So this is indirect rule.
So neocolonialism.
And yet in Africa here, the private sector has come to mean international finance capital, foreign capital, capitalistic finance. That's what it has come to mean here, because the Africans are, they don't have that. They don't have that kind of money to invest in dams and invest in huge infrastructure, or they are not even looked at by their bourgeoisie, because they are bourgeoisie. They somehow they look down on their own people, so they don't look at them as capable of building their own infrastructure. So they look at the international finance capital.
Of course, because it has a lot of what? It brings a lot of foreign money and in large quantities. So the private sector looks for the interests for the bourgeoisie, for the world capitalist class. Like now you can tell them I have my gold, it's like so and so. And then they come in to support. So the multinationals.
Yes.
And Karl Marx calls it that these multinationals are caused by the surplus value, the surplus labor from the people. But when you look at this, Karl Marx and the Lenins and even Marius Stiller, it is that money which is in surplus capital was got from cheap labor by Africans in Europe and the United States. It is the slave trade which sparked off the third industrial revolution, not so. But so it led to the development of Europe and USA and the Americas.
Yes.
The African people, they're the ones which sparked off the development. Then that labor, because that labor produced a lot of commodities, it is that labor which will, the goods were sold what? They were sold in large quantities. So they made people, their owners made a lot of profits. Yes. It is those profits which were invested in other sectors to buy, they use the money to buy machines, to buy new ones, to exploit. So those very people, when they exploited, the capital keeps on increasing, the profits. So the profits are invested in other sectors. Like they read previously in that very book of Nkrumah, we read that that money is got and reinvested back into Africa. Because when you look at these capitalists, most of them they want to control the whole what? The whole process of production, starting from raw materials, extraction, then from extraction, processing, then they even want to control the market and the prices. Then because we're looking at the whole political economy, production, consumption, and distribution.
Production,
So
yes.
yes, production, consumption, the
They want to
distribution.
control everything.
So so the capitalist wants to control all of those factors. But as previously we had also seen, there are workers who are at the upper level, and there is the workers who are at the extraction point. The workers at the extraction point, that is Africa, they have no say, no bigger say. They are exploited. There is no like legislation which is there, like minimum wage, what everything in place. Then the workers who are up like in the Belgium, the French, the USA, for them they also have their own things. Not so.
The welfare
They are
state.
crying for it. Yeah, for them they give them the welfare state. They are reformists.
Mm. They don't want the revolution. They always say that, oh, they always say that
Okay.
the violence is bad. We should reform the system.
Of course, they are reformists and pacifists in nature, if we are to put it more so. So that money which is good and reinvested, it is done which creates the problem of. By the way, you should read the motorcycle diaries of Che.
Mm.
You'll find when he say that what changed him from being a medical doctor to fight for freedom, it is one thing. When he reached Guatemala,
Mm.
he found that the whole country was turned into very large plantations for the rich men. Do you know? Hello?
Okay. Okay. Please continue.
Yes, he said that the whole country was turned into plantations for the rich men to exploit.
Yes, I saw that's where he got really angry from when he took those that those trips, you know I read about it that's where he got his revolutionary consciousness from. That is what sparked his thinking, and then he got really angry about the exploitation of the poor.
Mm. Hello?
Hello? Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Mm. No, I was
Let us
saying,
continue.
I was saying that those motorcycle diaries, I read about them. Uh, when I read
Mm.
his biography, that this is where he got, really angry from. This is where he was awakened from. That he decided to
Yes.
say he has to look for a way of doing something about the exploitation that he witnessed and the poverty. Yet these Americans we are living like colonialists, complete colonialists, and they even build their own countries. You look at people like Ford. I think he went to Brazil and built a place which he used to call Fordlandia or something like that. They would take the territories as if it is their own. Yeah, I don't know why these people they have this
Mm.
kind of mentality.
Have you? There is a company which is called United Fruit Company. I think
Yeah,
I've heard of that
yes,
company.
he spoke about that one.
That company, that company was overthrowing presidents even in,
Yes,
in Latin America.
and it was supported by the United
That
States
company,
government.
of course,
Mm.
because the government of the United States supports the interests of the middle class
Mm.
of their bourgeois. You'll find that it is same company which caused the Bay of Pigs. You remember that Bay of Pigs?
Yes, yes.
Because its land in Cuba had been nationalized.
It almost led to a
So,
nuclear.
just a small company which is
Just a small company.
uh,
Just a small, say, for
in,
a small greedy bastard. uh,
because the interests of the United States are in its middle class. It's the one which can suffocate your entire economy. Now
mhm.
you find like this, uh, it was like now the way Russia they were saying that our companies are withdrawing. Those are uh, bourgeois tendencies, saboteurs. Because
Mm,
when they withdraw from the economy, they expect it to fail.
that's
And of
what they
course,
were trying to do.
so when they find when
Mhm.
your economy is based on them, you will suffer, you will suffocate.
Yes. Like Ghana, that's how
That is
it gave out its economy
that is
to these groups.
the mm,
That's how Ghana is completely. The country gave out its
that
economy.
is that is Nana Akafu Ado
Hmm. They gave out the whole
is
economy
there.
to these groups.
Mm.
They control it.
But that was started in 1991.
They have been doing, I don't know. Ever since Nkrumah left, they have just been doing everything wrong, wrong, wrong. And they have been praising them that they are the beacon of democracy. When they are doing everything wrong, wrong, everything is imported. But they
And
have
now,
been
of course,
praising them.
the one
And these Western bourgeoisie have been praising them and putting them in New York Times, what, that this is the beacon of democracy. Because the bourgeoisie have accepted to be exploited and to be used to exploit their people and resources. They give them
but
name, they tag them.
in political science, there is. I remember there was a study on Ghana politics in Ghana,
Mm.
and they said that even in Ghana, it is tribes which vote. Is it?
Of course, that
Sometimes
politics in Africa
they
is,
vote
is,
you according
is
to
driven by tribal sentiments, but at least it's
identity.
okay. It's better than I think. It's better than it's better than Kenya. Kenya is worse.
In Kenya, it is too much because it is two contending sides.
Yes, so it's worse in Kenya. I think here is at least it's okay when it comes to tribal stuff. It's not too much. That one has at least been contained to a certain level. It is still there, of course. It's a typical African society, but it's not too much.
Let's move to neocolonialism.
Mm. Okay.
The, the prerequisite of a correct and global strategy to defeat neocolonialism is the ability to discover and expose the way in which a state becomes neocolonialist. For although a neocolonialist state enjoys only sham independence, it is an outward appearance. It's sorry. For although a neocolonialist state enjoys only sham independence, it is to all outward appearances independent, and therefore the very roots of neocolonialism must be traced back to the struggle for independence in a colonial territory. If the liberation movement is firmly established, the colonial power invariably resorts to a containment policy in order to stop any further progress. Let us repeat this statement.
Mm.
If the liberation movement is firmly established, the colonial power invariably resorts to a containment policy in order to stop any further progress and to deaden its impact. To achieve this objective, the colonial power uses its arsenal of alliances, its network of military bases, economic devices such as corruption, sabotage, and blackmail, and equally insidious, the psychological weapon of propaganda with a view of impressing the masses, a number of
Imperialistic
the
dogma.
impressing of the masses, a number of imperialist dogmas. So this one they're saying that neocolonialism can be traced back to the struggle of independence in a colonial territory. Like the system of governance in, okay, let us take Kenya and Uganda. They are not similar because in Kenya, the struggle of independence in Kenya is not similar to the one of Uganda. Also, in Kenya, the Mau Mau united the whole of Kenya. Also, in
Yes.
Uganda, you find rebellions on tribal terms. You'll find Nyangire Kabarega. You'll find the Awichi Paira. You'll find which other people.
Yeah. So
Very few.
the means by which independence was received in Uganda is different from Kenya, and for Ghana is also different from Zimbabwe, whereby armed struggle was used. Kenya armed struggle was used. But you look at Uganda and Ghana, there was no armed struggle there. Like in Ghana, okay, it was
Yes.
peaceful. There were some demonstrations which Nkrumah used to organize, but it was not purely like rough armed struggle like places like Guinea-Bissau and Mozambique and others.
Those of Algeria.
Yes, Algeria.
The, so, like the level of those of the dead and Kimasti, you remember that to be there, the Mau
Yeah.
Mau.
Yes.
But now you'll find like in Uganda, we don't have any figure of before independence who fought for independence. Who is that in Uganda?
I think he's Obote, is Milton Obote, but he's not. He was not. He did not use rough means, but at least I think Milton Obote fought is strong.
I mean the one who fought militarily.
No, I think he's Kabalega is the one I remember and Mwanga. They're the ones who
Uh,
tried to resist.
Kabaliga. Remember, but remember, Kabaliga is not a uniting figure like Dedan and Kimati.
Yeah, no, for them they were not uniting figure. They were just fighting to liberate their territories, their particular territories.
Uh, so it depends even because what caused that it is that because very many people collaborated.
Mm.
But in territories where people never collaborated, there was a very serious conflict.
Yeah.
So in places where they never, it was containment of people, putting people into serious camps. Hmm?
Mm.
Then propaganda, like psychological warfare, that one of scaring people, appeasing populations. It is in the roots of what? Those are the roots of liberation. Not
Yes.
so?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but
Sabotage.
for me, from my understanding, what I think is that Nkrumah is talking about the continuation of the continuation of neocolonialism, its roots being colonialism, whereby he's saying that the very roots of neocolonialism must be traced back to the struggle for independence in a colonial territory. Because when you go back to the colonial territory, these guys they looked at any formation of dissenting voices as as unwanted, dangerous. They are dangerous elements. Even today, is the same thing that when you form uh, a group which criticizes Western exploitation and neoliberalism, you know, in mostly even in these our societies, they term you as someone who's anti-democratic. And so Nkrumah is saying that to achieve this objective, which they developed during colonialism of containing, whereby they developed a policy of containment to stop this progress, this particular progress. They adopted a particular means, and of course, in certain cases, they used to use their network of military bases within the colonies during the colonial times, and then other devices such as corruption. They will come and buy out certain people so that the people would abandon the struggle, and then of course psychological weapon of propaganda, which he spoke about, by impressing it on the masses. They impress it on the masses with a number of imperialist dogmas, Western democracy, and stuff like that. Of course, you have heard about these things. That these dogmas they help to shape the minds of the people. That's why Nkrumah calls it psychological propaganda. They impress it upon the people that it is good to have imperialists here. And you saw, even in some cases, I think you have heard people saying, even myself, I thought like that at one time, that I wish that the colonialists would still stay around. If they were still around, things they are, it looks like they would have been better if the colonialists were still around. So this kind of psychological warfare that is done on the people, it leaves them thinking in this way, that it is good for the colonialists to be here, because we can't manage our affairs. I've heard I was working with someone a few years back, and he studied from Manchester. He has a master's, and he said that everywhere you go, that the Africans are always dirty, the place is dirty, because he stayed in England. He studied over there. So when he came back here, he said that for him he's a capitalist. That's why he used to tell me that he's a capitalist, that for me I'm a capitalist. We should sell everything, sell everything to foreigners, sell it. That's what he said. And this is a grown man. And right now, he was promoted in our organization, which I was working for, and of course the Organization for Americans. So this is the mindset. He believes that the exploitation of these people for his own benefit and for the benefit of these foreigners, that is the way to go. And he has believed it. He thinks that's the way. So he doesn't care about. So this is the psychological. I think this is the psychological weapon which Nkrumah is talking about in this particular situation. They have the psychological weapon of propaganda with a view to impress, of impressing it on the masses about a couple of imperialist dogmas. Number one, that Western democracy and the parliamentary system are the only valid ways of governing oneself, that they constitute the only worthwhile model for training of an indigenous elite by the colonial power. And of course, we have heard this numerous times. Actually, I had not read this in Nkrumah's literature, but I've been hearing it a couple of times. The first time I heard someone debunking this, it was by a guy called Eric Lee from China, who was arguing that we should stop lying to people that Western democracy is the only way of governing oneself. There's other ways, and it is very dangerous and irresponsible and boring to keep hammering it on people. So this is what we are seeing now, that people are told that if you want good governance, if you want what, you have to vote. That's the only way. Vote. You must vote. When you vote, then everything will be good. And yet there's other ways of governing yourself. Someone doesn't have to go to the ballot and vote for them to have a good government. And what we have seen in the past actually is that this voting has not produced, especially in the global south, it has not produced any benefits for the people. Rather, it has produced a corrupt elite who have sold off all the resources to the colonial powers, the resources of the global south to these colonial powers. Hence, we see the coups which are happening today, Mali, Burkina Faso, and then we see the coups. We saw the Cuban Revolution, which was a result of those groups which have entrenched themselves with the imperialist, with the imperialist interests, yet claiming that they have been voted and they are running a democracy. They claim that people like Batista claim that he's running a democracy, yet he has sold everything that belongs to the people. And then the other one is that capitalism, free enterprise, free competition, etc. are the only. These things is like Nkrumah wrote to them even yesterday. Is the only economic system capable of promoting development that the Western powers have mastered the liberal capitalist technique perfectly. So these are the dogmas. And these are the same things which we are talking about. I think you have heard not only even Museveni, you have heard him condemning Idi Amin, and he said that Idi Amin and the other founding fathers of the African modern states, they did not understand the importance of free capital. I think you have heard these things, President Museveni saying them. I've been hearing him saying those things. So it's like Museveni now has mastered free capital, free enterprise, the importance of free enterprise. So that is why he has been there probably for 30 years and he has not been able to transform the country. It's because he has mastered the free capital and free enterprise. So he said that Idi Amin and the other founding fathers of after independence of the African states after independence did not understand the importance of free capital. That is the claim which Museveni normally makes. Yet for him, I see that on the whole, he has contributed to Uganda and stabilizing it, but on the whole, I think it's a failure. Because if you have governed the state for 30 years and you have not transformed it, really, you have a city like Kampala still looking like that. I think this speaks to failure from, even though I would not want people like Bobby Wine to come even closer to power, or VCJ and those groups. Yeah, so these I think these are the dogmas which Nkrumah is talking about. This trying to lie to people. They use all these tools to try to counter the revolutionary organizations which have been formed. Force, intimidation, and then psychological propaganda.
That's true.
Mm.
We continue.
Yes.
Yeah, as you said, free competition, free enterprise. I think you have already explained this.
Yes.
Parliamentary systems. Then,
Yeah, the parliamentary system was the number one. So these are the dogmas, the psychological weapons of propaganda which are used to pump this. These are the dogmas which they pump out, imperialist dogmas.
Then the second one, it was capitalism.
Yeah,
free enterprise, free
The
But then the economic system to promote development. And then the third one, the slightest lapse on the part of the leaders of the liberation movement could push the country into
the group of communism and of totalitarian dictatorship. That's
this is what is people.
That those liberation movements which are forming, they are totalitarians, they are dictators, they don't want democracy. That's the propaganda which is used normally. So they paint you as communists, they paint you as dictators who don't know anything about democracy. So you are coming to destroy the country.
That the carve up agreed upon by imperialists during the colonial period is fair and sacred. That it would be unthinkable even to attempt to liberate areas in terms of their common cultural and historical links that the only acceptable version of liberation must apply to artificial units designed by imperialists and hurriedly labeled nations in spite of the fact that they are neither culturally unified nor economically self-sufficient.
I think here is
This is
speaking about this scenario here, which is normally used even today, which I have a problem. So I was speaking to that our friend you spoke about from Kenya, and he
mm,
was telling me that Kenya is different, Uganda is different, what, and stuff like that. I think this is the trap Nkrumah is talking about. The African people, they have linked, cultural background, historical background, and their culture is linked in a major way. But these things are artificial, which are normally overemphasized. How Africa got different parts of Africa got independence. So how does this really apply to the needs of the people? So I think that this is really psychological warfare that has been imposed on the people, that some of these people are just pumping out these. So this helps to keep the place divided, and it helps to push off the real need, which is the unification. And of course, the people who gain from this is the imperialists. So when people continue to say, "Oh, we are different people. We gained independence in different way, and therefore we are different development stages." So I think these are just senseless justifications for keeping the place divided consciously or unconsciously by the people who pump out this kind of narrative. And I think that this is what Nkrumah is talking about here, talking about boundaries. Yet we have a common culture and historical links. Like talk about Kenya and Uganda. For someone to say that Uganda and Kenya they are different, I mean, for me this is ridiculous. Different, they are different only in the middle class, maybe. You know, that is what I think. But when you talk about the people, you go to the border in Busia, for example. What is really different between the people on the other side and the people this side who have been divided? These people, they share the same border. They are always, crossing, and even some of them are going to stay there. Some of them they will come and stay here. So for me, if somebody says it's different, it's just different in I think in the level of greed of the middle class. They're the ones who are overemphasizing those differences and keeping the people divided. For me, that is my outlook, and I think this is what Nkrumah is talking about here. It's just propaganda and dogmas.
true. Like as there is one time when we had an argument with some students, ideological students. So the question was like, is Uganda a nation or it is a country? So one said Uganda is a nation. Now I asked him, how can Uganda be a nation? Because a nation it is a group of people unified by a similar culture, not so,
Yes.
and custom and beliefs. But when you go to like Busia, you find that people across the border have similar culture to people in the country in Uganda, not so.
Yes.
You'll find that the issues, you'll find that like the Bantu us, hmm?
Mm.
You find that we speak similar language to people in South Africa, in Malawi,
Yes.
not so.
Yes. Yes.
And we have almost a similar culture.
Yes.
Hmm? So if like Uganda is to be a nation, it means it will have to stretch up to down. Not so.
Absolutely. Yeah, Uganda is a state, or maybe you can say country, but it's not a nation.
Uh-huh.
Uganda is a collection of nations. The whole Africa is a collection of nations. More than 2,000
Africa
countries.
is a nation. Africa is a nation, but these ones are just colonial, like just colonial demarcations.
Hmm.
Because you find like the people in Chisoro, they speak the same language almost with the Rwandese. The people in Rwanda have similar customs to the people of Burundi. Huh?
Yes.
Similar ethnic groups. The people in Congo have speak a similar language to the people of Bunyoro. Speak a similar language to the people of Rwanda.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
So it is what Nkrumah is talking about here that these are artificial units designed by imperialists and hurriedly labeled as nations, in spite of the fact that they are neither culturally unified, neither economically self-sufficient. It is not a nation, but when they say that a state it is just a sovereign, like it has a government which has the ability to exercise power to control people within that place. That is a state. Huh?
Mm.
As long as only when you have your house and you can exercise power, you can control everything. It is almost a state. It is because they say that the family is the smallest unit of organization, isn't it?
Yes.
So it is. But a nation, it is one African nation. It is an African nation. The others are states.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm. Then I will continue as a further justification of its policy. Imperialism usually resorts to all types of propaganda in order to highlight exploit differences of religion, culture, race, outlook, and of political ideology among oppressed masses or between between regions which share a long history of mutual commercial and cultural exchange.
Yes.
Now, capitalism always looks at creating differences amongst people. It is like they always used to say divide and rule.
Yes.
They divide you, then after they come in the middle. So capitalism creates class differences. It will create like when they say uh, like the Igbo and the Hausa, the Igbo and the Fulani, those tribes of Nigeria
They are always fighting.
that are always fighting. But you may become peaceful for some time. So someone will bring up that thing that your grandfathers used to fight.
Mm.
Hmm?
Yes.
So, so then that thing you support one against the other, then you fight together. Like the way Somalia fought with Ethiopia.
Yes.
Huh?
They still have that problem.
Because like the way the Sunnis are fighting the Shias, they are all Muslims. Huh?
Yes.
But they have just understood it now, like the Saudis there, they hated the Iranians. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like the way Pakistan fought with India. You remember the war between Pakistan and India?
Yes.
Yeah. So they creating differences. And those differences they are to enable you to continuously be exploited. Because when you quarrel, economics is taking place. Like the war in Congo is not stopping Congo from being exploited. It is a problem of a poor person, but not a problem of a rich man. Also,
Yes.
business is taking place. So it is these things which keep you disunited. The capitalists want to keep you disunited so that they can continuously exploit you. Hmm?
Absolutely.
And it is what Africa. uh I think that is why this thing it is highlighted
Mm. Yes.
because it's very important. Then such methods aim to orientate the leaders of the liberation movements towards a brand of nationalism based on petty-minded and aggressive chauvinism, as well as to steer the liberation movement along reformist path. Now, like you will find that there is a liberator who is look at the Biafran war.
Mm.
You remember the Biafran war?
Yes.
People died because of the state of Biafra, and Biafra was a secessionist. They were seceding, not so.
Absolutely.
They were seceding, but they never knew that if they if they would be united, it would be very important for them to form a united and accountable state of Nigeria,
Mm.
isn't it?
Yes.
But for them now, they fought a secessionist war, like the same that would happen in Kasese. So,
Up to now, they still want to secede.
mhm.
They are still fighting,
But is it?
only that they are not fighting with
But
weapons, but they are still agitating.
that is,
Even
I
Cameroon,
always see that
Cameroon, there's one
there is
Ambazonia.
there is war in Cameroon between the Christian speaking population and the French speaking population.
Yes, so you have the English, I think is the one which is closer to Nigeria and the north, and then you have the French speaking Cameroon. So the one the French speaking, the English speaking, they say they are called the Ambazonia. So they want to,
Mm.
uh, so yeah.
Mm. So now, how are you concerned with being French and English speaking? How does it benefit you?
So all these problems, I think that they have been brought about by the excessive exploitation. Like if you go and examine the issue of the Biafra, it was because of the excessive exploitation in the Biafra region that the region is producing all the oil, but the oil was being taken by BP, British Petroleum, and Royal Dutch Shell, and it was supporting. That's why the British supported the what? The British supported the central government and gave it the weapons to kill the Biafrans. But what the Biafrans were fighting for was the share of resources because we were not sharing anything. And these capitalist organizations, they were exploiting the resources and sharing with the corrupt middle class in Nigeria. So there was something which was hidden behind that. Now it's
Mm.
the same situation which we see in Cameroon, that you have this group which is backed by the French. The Paul Biya is held in power by the French because the French have interests over of course, the exploitation of resources, timber and the oil and all these, bauxite and all that. The same thing which is in Gabon, which has been there. That the French are on the side of beer, and the other people feel neglected. So when they complain, then this French-backed beer, Paul Biya, the old man, I don't know, is the oldest African president. He uses the military to brutalize them. So that's how that's what happens, and that's the situation which we have in this regard. So it's a
Mm.
mix. It's a mix of the imperialistic manipulation itself that has been manipulating the situation for a long time. If you had strong leaders, if you had good leaders who would be able to unify these nations, uh, it would have been good that you spread the development and all this. And then at the same time, against uh, you have to fight back against imperialism and not allow it to take all the resources, whereby you don't have resources left to develop your people. And so we have had this even in Ghana recently. We had some people who were saying they want to separate themselves. They call themselves, I think, Western, is it Western or Eastern or Western Togoland or something like that. They want to form their own nation because they feel neglected by the central government in Ghana. So they wanted to separate themselves. So you see that
Mm.
at the root of the problem is imperialist exploitation that there's no enough resources to take care of the whole nation. So some parts of the country are neglected, yet imperialism is continuing to exploit the resources. And these puppet leaders, they are not able to explain to the people what is happening, and they fear to confront imperialism. So the one who ends up bearing the burden of these problems is the people, because when they rise up to complain, then they are brutalized. You see? So like the Biafra, the people were being brutalized with the support of the imperialist powers like Britain, because what was at stake was the oil interests of Royal Dutch Shell, which is a British company, British and the Dutch. So they
Mm.
supported the
But,
central government with the
but,
weapons, and it brutalized the people who were trying to secede.
mm. But now, what I wanted to do, what I wanted from them, why would they look at Biafra, not Nigeria?
Yeah,
You
so
see,
they
the
didn't know.
thing
For
it is,
them, like that time, of course, some of them were ideologically bankrupt. That instead of waging a national war, like overthrowing the central government and taking back the country, they thought that the only solution is to secede from the country and leave it and maybe build a different nation which is less corrupt. That was the thinking. So, like ideologically, they were not strategically thinking it, like in terms of what Nkrumah is thinking, that the only solution for us is to unify. And this is where I indict people like Museveni also. Museveni normally uses these words, chauvinism and what. But I think Museveni too is chauvinistic when it comes to the African continent. Because like I mentioned last time, he's talking about a United States of Africa within Africa. That he wants to create a United States of Africa within Africa and unify the East African regions and create a United States of Africa. So how can you say you are creating a United States of Africa in Africa? You see that this doesn't make sense. And when
mm,
he was asked about the United States unifying Africa, he said that Nyerere was right more than Nkrumah. He said that it's not possible that you will not get enough support to unify the whole African continent. Those are Museveni's statements. They are even on YouTube over there. So he said that Nyerere was right, was the one who was more right. And he's always talking about unifying he's talking about the United States of Africa within Africa. And when you hear him, that he's asking the African intellectuals, do they want to create a United States of Africa within Africa, or they want to create a Latin America in Africa? So you can see that his statements themselves, they indict him that he's divisive, he's chauvinistic, because there's no United States. So he was asking, do the African intellectuals want to create a United States of America within Africa, or they want to create a Latin America? But there is no such thing as United States of America within America. Within America, it's just a unified United States. So you can see that to this point, I think that Museveni himself is confused. You see, like ideologically, is way below what Nkrumah was thinking about. He's bankrupt, like ideologically bankrupt himself, even though he knows a lot of things. But ideologically, I think he's bankrupt.
but Nkrumah was upright. You see, we cannot compare Nkrumah to many people because Nkrumah is he has the African vision. He has it, and no one can argue about it. And he had the way it would be achieved. Only that people had their own what imperialist agendas and goals and objectives. Because someone, if this and this happens, what will happen? How will I benefit? What will I be doing?
Hmm.
You lose your job. So now the person is saying, uh, how can I permit that?
So people sold out the
So
interests of the whole continent for their own personal benefits. And you look at people like, for example, Nyerere. When Nyerere when Zanzibar and Tanzania were getting independence, Nyerere felt it fit to unify Zanzibar and Tanganyika immediately. But he was standing against Nkrumah, who was saying that we should unify the continent immediately. And yet Nyerere said that if he doesn't unify Zanzibar and Tanganyika and leave Zanzibar to go by itself, it will make a different country, and it will be difficult to join it to Tanzania, to Tanganyika, to make a country. So he was hot about that, but he was standing in Nkrumah's way of unifying the whole continent and saying, oh, we should go slow. But he did not go slow when it came to Zanzibar and unifying it with Tanganyika. So he was a hypocrite. Like people like that, they are the ones who brought the problems for us.
Nkrumah was the ideological figure of Eastern Africa. More so, almost the whole of Central Africa here, it was Nkrumah. But when you look down towards down, you'll find that there were the Mandelas, the Kenneth Kaundas. That is Namibia down. But here you'll find Nkrumah was leading Malawi, was leading Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, even Congo almost.
Yes.
So he was saying that he was contending Nkrumah. He saw that it is either him or Nkrumah.
You mean Nyerere?
Nyerere.
Okay.
Yeah, Nyerere. Nyerere was saying that it is either him or Nkrumah. Remember, North Africa has
Bembela.
It has, yeah, no, but North Africa has not been giving us powerful leaders. Maybe the one who has been there, Gamal Abdel Nasser.
And Bembela too was okay. I think he was okay. Nasser was.
But he does not capture the insight like the one of Nkrumah and what? And actually Gaddafi, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
Because you can see Gaddafi.
You can see that Museveni with his Nyerere corrupted thing, bankrupt ideology, stood in the way of Gaddafi, and yet Gaddafi was talking about always things of Nkrumah. And he was warning them and telling them that you people stood in Nkrumah's way of unifying the continent. Is that how you want to leave the African people again? Those people, they were just laughing at him and looking at him, including the Zumas and all those good luck in Nigeria. They were just sitting there like empty baskets.
But you know Nigeria, that is what? Did you listen to the statement of Traore?
No.
When he left ECOWAS, is it last week?
I've not listened to it.
He said that he regrets leaving ECOWAS. ECOWAS was supposed to help African countries, but it failed.
Yeah, I saw the statement was published. I saw the statement was published, but when they left.
They said that they have never gotten any support from there. So they regret that it was supposed to help them, but they have to leave.
Yeah, the statement was saying that the organization has left. It has become a nuisance. They said they were saying that the organization has become a nuisance. It is no more. It is a problem to its members now. It has become a problem. I will send you the statement so you can read it.
And the three countries left.
Yes, they signed it and they read the statement. So they said that the organization has wavered away from the ideals of Pan-Africanism upon which it was formed, and it has instead, integrated itself with the imperialist interests and foreign powers, and it has never given them help. It has instead engaged in dangerous rhetoric and imposing painful and dangerous sanctions on its own people. It has become a danger. It has become a nuisance and a danger to its member states and its people. So it has wavered away from the ideals of Pan-Africanism, so they can't continue to stay in such an organization.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they said.
Some people they left it.
Hmm?
And I saw East Africa, they came to Abuja for a benchmarking operation on ECOWAS. Is it
The East
yesterday?
Africa, I think, is the one which should be benchmarked. But Abuja, I don't think ECOWAS should be benchmarked. The thing which is dominated by France, how can you benchmark that? It will be ridiculous for for East Africans to come here and copy ECOWAS.
Mm.
It will be just ridiculous. Benchmarking what?
But I saw Dr. Maluf.
Doctor Who?
Is it Dr. Maluf, the head of infrastructure development in East Africa?
Mm.
Mm. Is there in Abuja? I saw a joint statement. It was released yesterday.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm. Let's continue.
Mm.
Mm.
No, we should
So,
stop there. We'll start from there next week.
sure, let us finish this page at least.
Okay.
I see it is remaining what? Chauvinism as well as to steer the liberation movement alongst. I had to steer a liberation movement alongst a reformist path. I
Mm.
think we did not look at that.
No, we didn't look at that.
Yeah, the the aim at steering a liberation movement along a reformist path. A revolution movement will start now seeking reforms. Like what happened in South Africa. You remember the MK?
Yes.
The MK went to the bush. They were fighting. Then again, instead of
You mean ANC?
instead of yeah, they are doing over there in CMK.
Mm.
They call it Mokoto Kuziwe.
Okay.
It starts fighting. Now instead of again, it was supposed to capture the country. Again, Mandela goes for reforms. Eh?
Mm.
Remember the reforms which he wanted that there should be that there are some reforms which he wanted that is it some sectors, some ministries should be given to blacks. You remember those things?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
But were those ones not reforms?
Of course. So they
Mm-hmm.
exploited that. Now here, what Nkrumah did not mention, because he was saying that Nkrumah was saying that they use all kind of tactics to divide the people. So he was saying that they use as a further justification for this policy, this imperialistic policy of containment. Imperialism usually resorts to all types of propaganda in order to highlight and exploit differences of religion, culture, race, outlook, and of political ideology among the oppressed masses or between regions which share a long history of mutual commercial and cultural exchange. So these people, they share the same thing. What I see in the example of South Africa, which you brought, is that they exploited the class difference. You see, the leaders of the movement, they had a different class. This is the only thing which Nkrumah did
Mm-hmm.
not mention here. Different from their people. They were the educated class, the ones who were leading the movement. The Ramaphosas, the Mandelas were lawyers and stuff like that. The Mbekis. You see that they exploited it. They told them that if we give you, so that's the corruption. I think this one, it could be a point of corruption, that they were corrupted and they gave up the struggle of which the people, fought for. So such methods aim to orient the leaders of the liberation movements towards a brand of nationalism based on petty-minded and aggressive chauvinism. as well as to steer the liberation movement along a reformist path. I think this is what they achieved of steering them towards the reformist instead of a revolutionary path of fighting to the last and expelling these imperialists so that they can leave the country. So I think this is, accurate, what Nkrumah is explaining and what you were talking about the ANC.
Mm. Have you heard of the story of Kenya?
Yes.
Uh, Between Jomo Kenyatta and Dedan Kimathi. Dedan Kimathi, for him, we wanted to fight. Then
The revolutionary.
this one, Jomo Kenyatta, for him, he went and sat with the whites
Yes.
and they made a deal.
Yes.
So when they made a deal, this one, Dedan Kimathi, did not understand English well and he was not very educated. So Jomo Kenyatta ended up betraying him. And
Kenyatta was
you remember,
more concerned about building wealth. He said that the Africans they don't respect the poor, that they want rich chiefs. They want rich leaders. That's what Jomo Kenyatta said. So he has to be rich.
Then they gave him Western Kenya. You look at this man in South Africa. Those of the Ramaphosas, what did they have before joining? There is a man who said that you see the house which Ramaphosa was staying in, which the Zumas were staying in, which even Mandela was staying in. They were owned by the Operamers. You know Operamers, those of the beers.
The beers, yes, not them.
Those people from the bush,
they sold the interest of their
you look at this man, he's called Sobukwe.
Yes, I've read about
Sobukwe was in the air. He left it to go and form the Pan African Congress of Tanzania. You know.
Yes, I know. I know one comrade in that organization. We've been working with him for some time. He's called Sankara, Chris Sankara.
Because the other one became reactionary. They said that the ANC was a sellout, so they had to form the Pan African Congress. The Pan African Congress, so even it formed also, and I'm doing like the MK, the APLA, African People's Liberation Army. I think that, and in Africa, the person who has lived to the ideals of Nkrumah is Sobukwe.
Yes.
Do you know that?
Yes, it was Sobukwe.
Yes.
Actually, Nkrumah liked him.
Sobukwe.
I hear he used to keep his ear on the ground when it regards to Sobukwe. Because Sobukwe was really strong on the unification of Africa.
And they have their motto that our land is really so. Last time I was studying them for some good time, like 2 years. Why are they losing? You know they are losing support. Every election they lose like around 100 people.
The people they get tired, they fatigue. So if they are with the movement for a long time when it is not winning, they lose hope. It's fatigue.
And they also have old supporters who are always dying out. And they are not recruiting.
Yes. So I think those movements, they have to reform themselves, like UCP, UPC, those old parties. Even Nkrumah's party in Ghana, it doesn't have even one MP in the parliament. So you have to renew, the party has to renew itself, and sometimes even to rename itself. It has to renew, but the problem is that you find that those parties, they don't want to give them to. You have to look for new younger people who are charismatic and give them to rebrand the thing to appeal to the young ones and recruit young ones you know, and redefine
Also, that was
vision, the vision of the party to be in alignment with the current times. But you see that most of these organizations, they will not be, they are not able to do that, that they will be in the same old rhetoric, uh, that they will not be able to adopt to the new way of doing things. The constitution will always be the same. You see that it will be rigid. Sometimes it is too rigid that it doesn't allow like the freedom to operate, the young people to operate and stuff like that. And that is what I see, that those are some of the problems. So the party, I think it needs to, sometimes the same old people are still there and they don't want to adopt or even to, they just want the young people to come and be subordinates and stuff like that. So these are all problems. They don't want to give way sometimes, to let that they, like Kwame Nkrumah's daughter came back to Ghana and she was able to come back to Nkrumah's party and capture one seat. So instead of these people creating space and supporting her so that she can take the presidency, they started quarreling in the party and she left the party and she lost the seat itself, instead of supporting her because they were building momentum and being behind her, even appointing her maybe to let her lead the party so that she can rejuvenate. She was young. These people, they were fighting inside, they're fighting her. She got tired and left the party. So now the party doesn't have representation in parliament. So you can see that the old people are there. They were just telling her that the party is not, it is that the fact that Nkrumah formed the party, it did not mean, it doesn't mean that the party is for the family. Those are the statements they were using. So they were just offensive. This is no strategy. This is not strategic. So they didn't understand. They could not distinguish the interest between the interests of the party and the fact that the party has been there for a long time. It has not gained any momentum. And also these existing parties, they have also corrupted some, they have been installed some members in there and stuff like that. So a lot of problems. But the fact that they don't adopt also is a problem. The parties have to be able to adopt and be flexible. Once you are not flexible and you don't want to adopt and look at things in a new way, even take risks. So you see that they become very conservative. There's no taking risk. And so this taking risk is normally, this failure to take risk is normally covered up in following the rules, following the constitution. We should follow the constitution. So you see that there's no taking risk. You see? So when you don't take risk, instead of this organization which has been there and is not making progress, give it to the young people, let them make mistake with it. So that they can find out and stuff like that. Maybe amend the things or amend the constitution, allow people to operate in a certain way to make risks and maybe even go out there and attack the government. So by you see that they become conservative, they want to fit in that no, 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 don't attack the government. Don't do this, don't do that, and stuff like that. And yet these young people are angry. You see that for them, they are angry, they want to attack. They will say that don't attack. So you see that organizations like Malema's organization, when it comes, they are attacking the government and stuff like that, and they get support.
But Malema has a lot of money and is not willing to give out the money.
Yeah, I saw him in a small private jet when he went to Liberia. So I wondered whether the private jet is for him or what.
I knew Malema from a long time ago. He was a youth wing of the ANC. He was, Malema lives in Sanditon.
Yeah, his party,
That's
I think it now has a lot of money. Maybe.
in Sanditon, one of the richest neighborhoods in down
But he
there
was in
in
the
RIS.
ANC since he was young. So there was money. He was close to the money. And
Mm-hmm.
he built relationships when he was there. Remember, he was in the ANC and he was, I think, in the youth wing. He was the leader of the youth wing, right?
but he deceives the people. That is the biggest problem which I don't like with him. Do you know most of some of my friends who are in the EFF in Zimbabwe? Most of them they were pushed back, and in Zimbabwe, in the EFF of Zimbabwe, it is the one which fell out from ZANU PF.
Is what?
The one which fell off from ZANU PF.
Okay.
The people from ZANU PF, the staunch ZANU PF left for EFF.
Okay.
Again, EFF, they left again EFF back to ZANU PF. Then this one is again for ANC. Again, they went back from ANC to EFF. EFF again back to ANC.
Those ones, you know that they are not revolutionary. They are just money-hungry bastards.
And in South Africa, the South African Communist Party became a reformist and pacifist, and it joined hands with, and it is even revisionist. It joined hands with the ANC and they formed the ruling coalition. I think I've heard of that. And in that ruling coalition, again, they're poaching people from the park. That one also book. Again, they are creating their own things. Then in Swaziland, the people say that they wanted to remove the monarch.
Now,
The monarch,
that monarch is too corrupt.
but the people who say that for them they want the monarch to exist. They want this, they call it what, the democracy of like the UK.
It's corrupt, and I'm hearing that monarch was created by the colonialists in Swaziland.
They created them.
I hear the British are the ones who created that monarch in Swaziland.
Hey, they always create them.
Yeah, so it's corrupt. I think they should overthrow it. The man is corrupt. The whole monarch is corrupt. People are poor and you are riding. How can you be like this? You don't feel any pain for the people. You are riding in Rolls Royce, private jets, and stuff like that. You don't feel any pain for the people. Like, what kind of life is this? No, you can't live like this.
Expensive people.
Yeah, so somebody who is heartless like that, I don't think he should be in power. They should fight and move the man. They should destroy the money. It's useless. It's even outdated. That kind of mode of governance has passed. It's outdated. That's my thinking.
That is it. And if they cannot allow you to destroy everything.
Yes. You have to destroy it. Destroy it. We have to find a way of unifying the continent. That's when we'll be able to build it and build a new political system. Because if we don't, the exploitation is going to continue. It won't stop. Do serious work. We have to sacrifice and put our lives on the line. If we don't want that, then we should be ready to suffer. And our children and grandchildren. Because Museveni is not going to be there forever. You may see that if he goes, his party may disintegrate, and his Museveni too is misled. He's just misleading things. When he goes, talking about Pan-Africanism, then you are saying that the uniting the continent is not possible, and you are saying that you want to create the United States of Africa within Africa. Which kind of rubbish is this? I don't understand this kind of thing. He had had the opportunity to make it struggle at least.
That's it.
Since 2016, at least if you had the time before he was hoodwinked, maybe from 1986 all the way to 2000. At least from 2000, you had the opportunity. How many years are those? They're more than 20 years, man. You have had it. And you have strengthened yourself. It's time to wage and stop misleading people that they should create a United States of, you know, United States within Africa. What kind of logic is this? I think Hussein is misleading. Just misleading.
How is the other girl, the other Ugandan who is there?
Oh, which girl?
The other one you told me. The Ugandan.
There was a girl, I've never met her. I will plan to meet her. She's called Namusisi. No,
Yeah, you told me.
Serumaga. Narumaga. I've forgotten the name. She's an architect. I've never
You told me Namusisi.
Namusisi. Yes, Namusisi Narumaga. No, Namusisi Narumaga or something like that.
She's what?
She has two names which are both African. She doesn't have these foreign names. I've never met her. She's in one of the groups which is called the EFF. EFL, Economic Fighters League. Oh, she's a registered Pan-Africanist, but she was supporting Bobby Wine. I think maybe that time she thought that he was a Pan-Africanist. So I used to tell them their group that man, I was even in their group, I used to pay subscription. But I was telling them that man is not correct. And they would not agree. They were saying that I'm supporting Museveni to brutalize the people. Why am I not condemning Museveni? And I said that no. I was seeing that Museveni has been messing things up. This is his last chance to do something for us to benefit from his presence. So I cannot condemn Museveni at this point when the imperialists are trying to bring some other small puppet who is even young and more destructive. This is the time for us to benefit from Museveni after all the mess he has been doing. So I can't condemn him. So this kind of medical prophet did not understand it. They thought that, you are just supporting Museveni's brutality against the people and against Bobby Wine. And yet, my assessment for me was way ahead of them. So later, then they saw that Bobby Wine posted a picture of himself with this puppet, US puppet Guido. And I sent it to them, and that's when everyone realized that Bobby Wine is a puppet. And they said, everyone jumped off, and they stopped associating with Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine had a lot of support even within the Pan-African circles. But that thing is the one who dropped him over. He used to go to Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa. But when he associated with that kind of thing, all the Pan-Africans, they dropped him. So that's when they realized that this man is a puppet. But I used them and they were not agreeing. That time, during that period, they didn't understand why I'm saying that.
That is it. People are just understanding great.
That too, I saw him. I was not even that time very politically conscious. In 2008, when VSJ used to do demonstrations in the country, I could not understand why the man is doing demonstrations in the country. And yet I was not rich, that I was just a poor guy even with no job. But I could not understand why this man is doing the demonstrations in the country. I could not really understand it. Because you maybe somebody may say that, it's because you were bourgeoisie and you had business interests in the country. But I was a poor person, and I could not understand why this man. And because I saw that whenever he goes outside, and it's because I knew about Gaddafi. That time I had known about Gaddafi, the death of Gaddafi. So I was like, this man, what is wrong with this man? Every time he goes outside the country and comes back, he's always causing demonstration. He's getting money and is coming back here to destroy it.
People are benefiting by the way.
Mm. So if they want to chop the
Mm.
they want to eat the white man's money, they should go and eat it and take it, find means of getting it. Maybe they want to say they are supporting or what were their opposition. They should go and take it. But when they come back, they should be strategic and avoid having people killed, innocent people killed, over things which are not even revolutionary. If people are dying because of revolution, that you want to bring better conditions, fine. But you are just having people killed to place a imperialist regime. Like I really don't buy this kind of thing.
Mm. Okay. So you're going to sleep.
Yes, so I'm going to go to sleep. I think your side is coming to
Mm.
11, so is 8 over here is coming to 8. So that is it. I think
Mm.
we'll start another time. I'll start from there. Maybe next week. Let's try next week.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Can you write something?
Hmm?
I don't know. Maybe after this book, let us work how to finish this book. Then we start the other book.
Okay.
By Chile. Then we summarize. We shall be summarizing like what we have read today. We summarize what we have read. And then after we
Mm.
shall read through our summaries. Hmm?
Okay. Okay.
Then we shall combine a book. We shall print a book or
Okay.
online.
Okay.
That's what we shall do. Because we read we compare and we contrast with the current situation.
Mm.
Hmm?
Yes.
And then because now these books which were written, most of them they were written long time ago, and they need us to think and see.
And update.
Okay, like the way they make like a revised edition.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
But of course, you cannot make a revised edition, but we can create our own.
Yes.
Whether it is like 40 pages, whether it is 60,
I'm open
like
to that.
that. We do
I'm open to
a
that.
book.
We can do that.
Um,
But then
yeah,
that
we
means
can do
we have
that.
to go back. We have to go back to where we started from.
Back to where we started from.
If we want to start summarizing and some ideas, some critical ideas. Or you think we should start from there?
Mhm. Yeah, you can go back during your time and I cannot go back during my time. Then I compile up to today.
Mm.
Or as we continue, we'll be compiling. Then after we shall bring the notes together.
Okay.
Because because when we are free, the reason why we read it is either to generate new knowledge, then to also compare with the current situation. And when we compare, we can also come up with our own knowledge. Then we make our own what? We also create our own manuals.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
That's true.
And that is it.
Yes.
Mm.
So I think that's that idea. I like it. We can create a different manual from the various books which we read. If we combine Nkrumah and Che Guevara, I think we can create a powerful manual.
Mm.
Mm.
That is it.
Okay, my brother. Then have a good night.